the first time all season, it feels the Philadelphia 76ers are back on track. In addition to winning 4 of their last 5, Joel Embiid has returned to the floor, and we finally got a look at the big three with Tyrese Maxey and Paul George. However, a new face has emerged into center stage of the Sixers team, with Jared McCain proving that he is absolutely worthy of a key role on the Sixers team. I want to discuss exactly what he can bring, how he changes this picture, and one stat that I believe really proves that. So to dive right into things, shout out to my guy Tiago here, who tweets out the Embiid, George, Maxey, and McCain. The 4 of them here have a plus 38 net, an extremely small sample size in 36 possessions, which is the 100th percentile across the entire NBA. Now, 36 possessions is far too small of a sample size to have any sort of judge here, but the film does speak for him itself. There was a lot of positive film on this group last night, playing off each other's strengths and the space created among them, Tiago tweets. So to add to this directly here, I want to start off by showing one play that I think shows this, as well as a play by Jared McCain after the fact that I really think says a lot about him here. So let's start off with this play in which all 4 of Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Joel Embiid, and Jared McCain touch the ball, and which it results to a pretty strong basket here. So Paul George taking guys off the dribble, kicks to Embiid, a quick decision to McCain, quick decision to Maxey, leading to a nice little lay around the rim here. And then this play by Jared McCain, I do think speaks volumes to what he can do for this Sixers team. So nice off-ball motion, a pump fake, knocks down the 3, and then stares down the Magic bench. And that is a part I particularly wanted to highlight because I do not think we've discussed just enough how tough Jared McCain can be when he is out there on the floor. And to add to a little bit more of what he brings to the Sixers team, a couple areas where he specifically stands out that the team needs him. For starters, the Sixers are plus 18.9 points per 100 possessions in transition when McCain is on the floor. That ranks in the 90th percentile. And to add to that a little bit here, particularly the 3-point in transition is something that he loves to capitalize on. That's something that really popped in his film when looking back to his time at Duke, that he really seeks out that shot. You can get open looks from the 3-point break when there is transition. The defense is scrambling, and that's an area where the Sixers straight up have not exploited just about whatsoever during this era of basketball here. McCain's going to be hungry for that shot, and I do think that it is there for the taking. And to add to that, Maxey's 4th in the league in steals over the last 10 games, which I do think is notable. I do think his defensive intensity has been off the charts better this season. That's something that I do think carries moving forward and should be a little bit more made out of. So shout out to Tiago for highlighting that. And he also notes McCain has a 47% score frequency off spot ups, which is 15th among 47 high volume shooters. And that's really the role that I fully projected McCain to fit into the Sixers team. I thought, at least for his rookie season, he'd be looked at as a spot-up shooter, a guy that you can run plays for, sort of play in like a little bit of a prime Eric Gordon type role. And obviously the version of Eric Gordon on the Sixers team is far from the prime version of himself here. When you think about what he did to a team, maximizing the spacing, being a caliber of shooter that provides some pressure on the defenses, always is a threat to light it up from well beyond the arc. That's kind of what I expect to get from McCain. Turns out there is way more to him than just that. And I do think that when kind of breaking down how we're building out the Sixers team, what is the core of it, I think McCain is firmly in that 4th seat here. That yes, there is the big 3 with Joel Embiid, with Paul George, and with Tyrese Maxey, but I think how this fully connects is with McCain being the 4th guy into this. Now, to touch a little bit on each of their stats here, I do want to start with McCain specifically, that on the season, he's averaging 15.8 points per game, 2.6 assists, 2.5 rebounds, shooting 46.3% from the field, 38.2% from beyond the 3-point arc, has had some really tough finishes around the basket, is still the Rookie of the Year favorite, and deservingly so. Frankly, somebody's going to have to take it from him. My biggest concern with McCain as far as the Rookie of the Year conversation, I always thought there would not be enough opportunity for him on the floor. You look around the league at, teams like whoever you want to pick, Stephon Castle with the San Antonio Spurs, that he's got a little more free range to play through his growing pains. That was not the expectation would be the situation for Jared McCain. He kind of caught a break that injuries to other players opened up the door for him to receive opportunity, and boy, has he made the most of this. That this is absolutely something that has changed the outlook for not just McCain specifically, but for the Sixers, and now he really is the X factor on this team. But to add to a little bit of the other star players, do want to talk about Joel Embiid specifically here. We've now seen a 5-game sample size of his play on the season. These numbers still don't stand up to the standard that Joel sets for himself. 22 points per game, 8.4 rebounds, 3.6 assists, Shooting just 40.7% from the field, 13% from three is brutal, but that is something I'm confident will go up when there is a little bit more sample size there. I'm so encouraged after that Chicago Bulls performance that we did saw from Embiid, and to me, really reinforced the belief that that MVP version of Joel Embiid, whom this entire Sixers team is centered around, is still in there. That to me, the is he washed conversation, it has nothing to do with his quality of play. He still can be that guy, and we saw that against the Chicago Bulls. What really the conversation can be about is how quick can he bounce back? How much can that knee take? How much regular basketball can Joel Embiid play? Those are all legitimate conversations. His quality of play, while it was over the first 4 games, I'm ready to toss that conversation out the window because I do believe he's still got it. Now, Joel is also a little bit more candid than we have seen him regarding his status and outlook. He was asked about dealing with the knee issues and how it has been, and his quote was, "Extremely depressing." Embiid said, quote, "There's no injury, just between the swelling, we've got to get it figured out. I've been saying it for the last few months. It's been extremely depressing." And I do like that he at least acknowledged it. That's really the first time throughout this entire process that we've had him face the music and talk about what's going on. And one of my messages across the board with the Sixers team is I think it just makes everyone look worse when you leave this uncertainty in the air. All these questions being left unanswered. And it is my understanding from everything that I've heard or has been relayed from the Sixers side of things is that that is a Joel Embiid decision, that he wants things to stay private. And while I can kind of respect the wishes and understand where he's coming from there, the bottom line, man, is you are a professional athlete, and these are things that eventually come to the public, that whether or not you're playing basketball, people are going to watch the game and figure that out pretty quickly. So there isn't really this way to be discreet about it in the way that I think in his heart he desires what is the case there. Now, to touch on 2 other pieces of the puzzle here, we do want to start with Tyrese Maxey and pulling up his stats on the season. He has had a bit of a disappointing year overall. Still, the stats are not awful. 24.3 points per game, 3.6 rebounds, 5.2 assists. Where the real struggles have been has been with the efficiency. Just 40.6% from the field, 29.3% from three, just 30.8% from the corner there. Not really what you want to see from a guy like Tyrese, who really has had taken impressive strides in his efficiency throughout his time in the NBA. Let's think back to that was the real concern coming out of college, that he shot below 30% from beyond the three-point arc during his lone season at Kentucky there. But Maxey, I'm not worried about. We finally saw him settle in with Joel Embiid on the floor here. Had a career-high 14 assists in that game against the Bulls, with 10 of those assists going to Joel Embiid. And beyond just the assists, the playmaking that we saw, a little bit of a flash of this guy can play the true point guard when we see the offense functioning as it is designed to. We also saw just the shots looking a little easier. I know the efficiency still has a ways to go, that it's going to take some time to work those things out, but he wasn't blitzed as much coming off picks. There was not as much doubles sent his way, and that's all directly because Joel Embiid is on the floor here, and we finally got to look at how that all fits together. And to add to the final piece of what I am calling the big 4 from now on, we have Paul George coming in here. So far for Paul this season, 16 points per game, 5.3 rebounds, 5.2 assists, has shot 41.3% from the field, 31.2% from three. I also think that this is a guy due for some positive shooting regression. I mean, just 0.083% from the corner. That is not the Paul George that we know. That he shot over, I believe the number was 47% on corner threes last year. I remember this was something I was incredibly excited about, him being able to generate looks off Joel Embiid. So that is the question from here, is what caliber of status can Joel Embiid? Can this be the foreseeable future where he is staying on the floor? Because there is a golden opportunity for the Sixers team. Looking ahead to their next matchups over their next 5 games, they have the Indiana Pacers next on Friday, the Charlotte Hornets in back-to-back games, then the Cleveland Cavaliers, and then the San Antonio Spurs. Let's just start with those top 3 games. Absolutely winnable there, and then we're talking a little bit differently about this Sixers team. That if they can win 3 consecutive games, and that would bring it to them bringing, so they've won 4 of their last 5, that would ultimately lead to them now winning 7 of their last 8, would be really impressive stuff there, and kind of puts them in the conversation above 7-15. We're talking about 10-15, and you're right in that play-in mix at this point in time. So there's a lot of season left to be played. I know despite the low start to the season, there are some positive takeaways to see from this Sixers team. I think Jared McCain leads the list here. Now, when looking at this Sixers team, I'm also a bit surprised that amid all the frustrations and all the ins and outs of the lineups, I think I have my idea for who is the concrete core of this Sixers team, and I squared it off with the top 7 here. Now, I think Nick Nurse will ultimately go a little bit deeper than that in the bench. I'm kind of looking at this from a playoff rotation standpoint, but to me, these are the guys that must play. It's Tyrese Maxey, it's Joel Embiid, it's Paul George, it's Jared McCain. I'm putting Kelly Oubre in here absolutely, and I've been really impressed with the minutes dominance that we've seen from Kelly Oubre lately. His commitment defensively, it's been awesome, man. And I was kind of a Kelly doubter when he first came to Philadelphia. I give him a ton of credit for the way that he has reinvented himself as a basketball player, has really found something in his ability to make those backdoor cuts, and is shooting the ball incredibly well lately. I know just 32% on the season, which is about his average. It will ultimately settle out, but he's had a couple straight games where he's looked incredibly confident and is knocking things down. I know there's a lot of negativity surrounding Caleb Martin at this time. There's no doubt in my mind that he has not played his best basketball in the season. He has been a tough watch, and definitely seems to be something up with that shooting, the kind of hitch in it or whatever is going on there. Personally, I feel you shut him down for a couple weeks, figure out whatever the injury issue is, and then bring him back when you need him. But I am confident that when it is that time, when it is playoffs and you need your best players, Caleb Martin's going to be ready for the moment. That's where he's played his best basketball throughout his career with the Miami Heat, has been in the deep playoff moments, going toe-to-toe with the Boston Celtics and everybody else there. So I'm confident that player will show up at some point this year. And I do think that he's been impacted probably more than anybody about all the ins and outs of the lineup. And lastly, to me, it's Gershon Yabusele, man. This guy is exactly what the Sixers could have hoped for. I think a far more talented overall basketball player than any of us realized from what we saw at the Olympics there. He's a good connective passer. He's looking more confident as a shooter. He's taking charges defensively, even blocking some shots there. So very encouraged for what I've seen from Gershon Yabusele. And to me, I think that's like the core 7 of this Sixers team. Obviously, some other names will crack that list. I think KJ Martin's probably the next guy that I personally would have in there at this point in time. But the reality is, what I'm truly believing at this point is the core of this Sixer team comes down to Paul George, Joel Embiid, Jared McCain, and Tyrese Maxey. That is the big 4, and I think between the games in which each of these guys miss, the others scale up. So for McCain specifically, while he may not crack the true big 3 on this Sixers team, what I'm looking at him as is the guy that can step into that role on any given night. When Tyrese Maxey has to miss a game or his hamstring acts up again, which hopefully is not the case, McCain, you got to step in and be the guy to run the show a little bit. If Joel Embiid is not there for a night, which is a far more likely outcome when having this, we're going to need a scoring burst off the bench, and to me, that is Jared McCain stepping up and letting it fly from deep. So I like that there's different avenues that this Sixers team can play. Shout out to Jared McCain for bringing these questions to the forefront and really making this a problem that the Sixers have to think about if we have to get this guy on the floor. All that is just incredibly just a sign of how well that he has played there. So excited to see him build off this, excited to see this team build together and hopefully get an extended stretch where we can actually see all these guys playing together, and very just feeling the most confident I have in the Sixers team at any point after that Sunday victory there. So hopefully positive results with Joel Embiid's knee. At the time of recording, we have not gotten updates since that game, but obviously a long layoff between Sunday and Friday between the 2 games there. So my expectation is that he will be suiting up and ready to go on Friday. If he is not, that is when the panic bells start to go off again. But we have nothing to that sort at this time. So I'm going to continue staying in a good mood and operating positively there, and do really believe Jared McCain may be the X factor that the Sixers did not realize they were going to have. Let me know what you guys think in the comments about that. Drop any thoughts that you have below. As always, appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in the channel here. If you have not already, make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, dropping a like on this video. We'll be back talking to you next time right here on Sixers Digest. Peace.